Hello everyone and welcome to another video on my channel. In this one I'm going to show you the guide for GTWS 2026 Manufacturer Series. We are at this Watkins Glen long course and we are in the Gr3 cars, at least in the GT1 category. So what I'm going to be showing you in this video is, I'm going to first of all go through the race settings and talk about it. Once that is done, I'm then going to show you the fastest time trial lap I did. And then after that, I'll go through that lap in detail, showing you the rough braking references and rough apex speeds, rough racing lines, etc. And then I'm going to finish off the video showing you the whole race stint for this race. So without further ado, I'm going to now go over the race settings. So as you can see from top left, number of laps 17. So 17 laps of this track. 16 car grid, as it always is for these type of races, and it's a rolling start. Again, not a surprise since we are in Group 3 cars. The qualifying time is 5 minutes, which I believe means you've got time for 2 flying laps. More on that later though. More on that when I go through the race stint. I'll talk about it. Fuel consumption rate, it's off for qualifying, but in the race it's ×1, so we don't have to worry about fuel this race, especially since it's only 17 laps on I'd say a medium-sized track. And then for Tyre, you got both ×5 for both qualifying and the race. So that's the race information here. Now onto the regulations. Usable tyres, we've got the racing hards, racing mediums, inters and wets. However, since Watkins Glen doesn't have weather, we won't need to worry about the inters and the wets. Required tyre type, you've got the racing hards and racing mediums. That means you have to use both the racing hards and the racing medium tyres in the race. Otherwise, you'll get given a 1-minute time penalty, I believe, if you don't use one of those two tyres in the race. At least for one lap. Category, like I already mentioned in GT1 League, we are in the Group 3 cars. Obviously, you are stuck to the Group 3 car you picked from the Manufacturer Series. Unless you haven't picked yet and you just want to do the last one for fun, then pick whatever car you want, I suppose. No wide body, no nitros, the usual for race cars. Car restrictions, medium speed VOP since we're at Watkins Glen. Quite a few straights, but a lot of corners as well, so definitely medium speed. And we are allowed to change the brake balance for this race. Race settings, what that means is just about, DR, etc. So DR is affected, your SR is affected, so stay clean and try to get the best possible result if you want to increase your DR. Mechanical damage is on light, so I believe if you get damage it repairs itself after 20 or 30 seconds. I want to say it's 20 seconds, but it could be 30. I don't often get damage, so I don't actually really know the rough timing it is for damage to repair itself. Minimum number of pit stops is none. However, since you have to use both the racing hards and mediums and you can't mix sets in these lobbies, then you do have to make a pit stop to change onto the other tyre. Track limit is on normal, so you can basically, that means you can use the edge of the curbs. I mean, you'll still be in the track limits, except for a corner or two. But I'll go over that on the track guide. And then penalty settings, you've got shortcut penalty on weak. So if you do cut corners, you usually get half a second penalty. On one of the corners, it's 1 second. So just be careful. Wall collision penalties are off. Other car collision penalties on. So don't ram into people because you will get a time penalty. And plus, that's not fun. And plus, you'll get damage on top of that. Fine. And last but not least, pit lane line penalty is on. And with Watkins Glen, you have to be extremely careful that you don't cross the yellow line on the pit entry by either making a decision too late and crossing the yellow line as you start to go into pit entry, or you go a bit too deep into the corner and momentarily have your left tyres go off the yellow line, or not go off the yellow line, but go past the yellow line, I should say, which is surprisingly really easy to do, and I would argue this is the hardest pit entry in this game. It's up there to at least maximize timing. But without further ado, that is the race settings. I'm going to quickly go to the rankings just so you can see what sort of good cars are here. So as you can see, Wind on a Note is first with a BRZ. Shout out to Wind, thank you for that. And then you've got the M6 by Romano, then a GTR by Wind again. And then you got another couple M6s, Lexus, Super, and then me, you know, BLZ. The new Porsche seems to be alright here. But as you can see, most cars you see here are FR. And for the FR cars you see, they tend to be the ones that handle really well. So the M6, the GTR, the Lexus. Your usual suspects, the BLZ as well. And the Super's not too bad here. The next car that's not none of those is actually the Merc, and that is a couple tenths off still. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to now show you my fastest time trial lap that I did. But before we get into that, I want to say if you enjoy these sort of videos, I would appreciate a like and a sub. So I will carry on doing these for the Nation season, and yeah, more to come. But without further ado, I'm now going to show you my fastest time trial lap. Cheers, guys, and enjoy. Hello again, everyone. So hopefully you enjoyed the lap I've just shown you. Now I'm going to go through the rough references on where I'm braking and the rough apex speeds and roughly when to start turning in. I don't really use turning points, to be honest. I kind of just get into the flow of it and I can just judge when to start turning. But I will try to point out to you guys for those that need it. I'll say the keyword for this is momentum. Reason for that is because there's a lot of long corners, and if you mess it up a bit, it can really ruin your next braking references and that, because obviously you're going to be carrying more speed or less speed depending on how you do the previous corner, which can really throw you off on the braking and turning, etc. But without further ado, and one more thing, you've got to remember I am in the Subaru BRZ. So for those that don't know, the BRZ has the highest downforce in the whole of Gr3 easily. And it's also slow on straights and has bad brakes. So if you're in literally any other car other than the BRZ, you may have to have different braking points and that. I think for some corners it'll be similar. Like turn 1, I would imagine will be similar for a lot of cars. But for corners like the chicane and you know what, I'll get into it in the actual lap. But just what I'm trying to say is I'm in the BRZ just because if you're trying to follow the guide and you're in a different car, you may have to adjust some of your braking points, but they should be relatively similar throughout whatever car you're using. And I will also note I am on default ABS. I am a control user, so I use max control sensitivity, which I would recommend absolutely if you're a control player, because you want as little turning delay as you can, especially for the chicanes, because you want to turn from right to left as quickly as possible with as little delay as possible. And I will say the brake balance I use for the BRZ is +5. I'll very quickly go over the brake balance of every car, basically. So I'd say for most cars, I'll use every FR car, I'd probably use +5. Maybe except Supra. That's like one of the only cars I would consider not using +5 because that car can still oversteer a bit under braking. That car I tend to use +3 in most scenarios. But go based off feeling because that's what brake balance is there for. It's to adapt to your driving style. If you want a bit of oversteer under braking, then you want to put the brake balance to the rear. If you don't want oversteer and you want it to be as stable as possible, move it a bit more to the front. But it will mean that you may understeer into some corner entries. But anyway, without further ado, let's get to the lap guide. So, remember, I'm in the BR first corner. Oh, and for MRs, I forgot to mention brake balance for MRs. For MRs, I think for some I'll still use +5. So cars like maybe the 296, for Citroen maybe. I'm just trying to think of all the FL cars. McLaren, 4GT, I'd probably use +5. Cars like the Audi R8, the Lamborghini Huracan, the Porsche 911, the old one I should mention because there's obviously been a new Porsche added today. But the old Porsche, in case you're using that with the R8 and Huracan, maybe NSX as well, I'd probably go around +2 area, in my opinion. Especially in the chicane, you might even want to move it a bit more forwards for that chicane. You do not want oversteer when entering into that chicane going over the curb because it will really unsettle the car. But anyway, first corner, that's just 200 marker. I'm literally braking on it in this car. Maybe slightly before, yeah, slightly before it. I'd say about a car before the 200. You can probably brake as late as 200 in some cars. Even in the BRZ, you could probably brake as late as 200, to be honest. But I found I'd rather brake early and maximise the exit than go touch deep and lose a tenth on exit. Because you've got to remember, after this corner, you're going to be full throttle for at least 20 seconds up to the next chicane, I believe. So I'm braking about here. And the rough apex speed I'm taking in this BRZ here is 84 to 85 miles an hour. But I'm going to put it on the apex, guys. So I start to turn it in. I'd say between this 100 marker and this Gran Turismo 7 sign here. So about now. So actually, I'd say about a car length for the Gran Turismo 7 sign. I start to turn it in. What I will say is you want your right tyres to get on this curb because it can help drag your car around the corner. However, if you touch this part of the curb, one, it can maybe unsettle the car, but two, and more importantly, the car will start to understeer because the tyre will be going on the high point, so it will start to drag to the left and it will push you off the track. So you'll very easily get a penalty if you touch that inside curb, unless you massively lift off mid-corner. But like I said, aiming to be about 84, 85 mile an hour in this car. For most cars, it would probably be about 82 miles per hour, to be honest. Track limits, you may think the track limits is on the edge of this curb. However, in some scenarios, you can get away with going slightly past the exit curb. But to be honest, just for safety, I'd make sure just to try and get at least one tyre staying on this curb here. This bit is easy flat. What I will say is try to hook onto these curbs here because it kind of drags your car around, so you can put a bit less steering in, so you can maybe carry a touch more momentum out of this fast section. You can save your 100th of a second, which could be a position in the line. Next corner, BR I start to turn and brake at this 200 marker. In fact, I already started to turn in, but I'm braking at the 200 marker here. So what I'm aiming to do is I'm going to get as close to the inside barrier here as possible. That way it opens up the double left part. And you can just carry good speed of momentum through here. I don't exactly remember the apex speed you want for this first part, but what I will mention is for the left parts, in the BR I was aiming to be about 118 to 120 miles per hour here. Using the kilometers, 220 kilometers, that would probably be about, well, let me just very quickly work it out, about about 140 miles per hour here. And then, yeah, here about 120 miles an hour if you can help it. I will mention, you need your right tyres to if your right tyres doesn't go to the right side of his yellow line by the time you get to the end of it, that is when you get the 1 second penalty. Also, if your left tyre touches the grass, you will mostly get a penalty. Sometimes you don't, but I would say for consistency's sake, try not to touch it inside of the grass because it can give you a penalty. So you want to be about like this. That's about perfect, to be honest. Carry on turning left, and you should be able to go full throttle as soon as the car lands on the little bounce that you might experience from this curb here. Here, if you're doing the line I'm doing, so for the top times, it's a bit better to cut this part because if you were to not cut this part, you'd have to pick up the throttle later at this part to make sure that you stay on the track, which is what I'm probably going to be doing in the race, just for tire's sake. But in time trial, I'm going to be going over this bit. Be prepared to lift as you get over this little bump bit here, because it can unsettle the car. As you can see here, I did start to slide. But for this next corner, I used this little sign bit here, this last sign on here, as my little braking reference. And when I say little braking reference, I mean very slightly trail braking here, very little. Especially in the BRZ, because it's got so much downforce that I barely need to brake for this next corner. So right here, I'm braking. And for this corner, I'm aiming to be around 106 or 107 miles per hour here. And for this corner, hug this curb for as long as you can because it helps drag your car around the corner. So that way you can carry more speed and you're on the inside for longer, so you've got less distance to cover around the track as well. And if anything, you're able to put less steering angle as well, which one helps your tyre wear. Two, more importantly, it scrubs less speed off as well. Well, not more importantly, but they're both very important. Next corner, I brake very slightly after the 200 marker. Well, right here, I'm braking. My ABS light has just come on. I'm braking as I pass this 200 sign here. And what you're going to be seeing me do is, as soon as I'm braking, I'm basically going to start turning in now. The reason I'm going to be turning very early for this corner, I'm looking for an early apex, is because this corner is cambered. If you were to take it like a conventional line, and what I mean is you start wide and look for a late apex, if you do that, you're not using the most of a camber, so you're going to be losing a ton of time on entry, and you won't be able to carry as much speed in the corner. So you want to be turning as early as possible and trying to hug the curb, at least in the BRZ. With the downforce it has, you want to hug the curb as long as you can to use the maximum of camber, minimize the distance, and carry as much speed and momentum out of the corner as possible. For this corner, I'm looking to take it about 85 miles an hour for the minimum apex speed here. As you can see, hug the inside, hug it, so that way you won't understeer ride. This corner, I believe I broke about a car length before this Gran Turismo 7 sign. So any second now, you're going to see my ABS light flicking on. Any frame now, there you go. A car length before this Gran Turismo sign is where I'm braking. And there is two ways to do it usually. You could either turn in early and do it like a V shape. However, in the BRZ at least, the better way of doing it is braking the straight line, going a bit deep in. And when I say no, you're not going deep in, but you want to be like halfway between the left and right hand side of the track so that you're still using the camber. So basically where you see the darker lines of the track, so the proper conventional racing line, that is literally the line you're going to try and follow, at least in the BRZ, because it's cambered there and you're able to carry good speed and momentum throughout the corner if you was to take that line. I believe the minimum apex speed for this, and I'm sorry if this is not 100% accurate, but I believe I was taking it about 74 miles per hour in this car. Yeah, it was about 74 miles an hour, yeah. I remember now. It was somewhere along that line anyway. Next corner coming up, so there's this 200 marker coming up, but I don't really use that as a reference. I use these little darker lines on this track here. So it begins here, the darker traces of the track. I brake 2 car lengths after it. Actually, no. Yes. I brake here. So if you're not really going to look out for that and you're going to use these boards here, I would say I'm braking at about 160 meters here, or 160 yards, sorry. So again, I'm going to be braking in a straight line. And the rough apex speed I'm looking for this corner is 74 to 75 mile an hour. You can try and touch it inside curve, but it doesn't really matter if you touch it or not, in my opinion, just as long as you're very close to it at least, so that you don't understeer too wide throughout the corner. So I start to turn in just after the 100-yard marker. So like on this lap, I didn't really touch it, but you can touch it, you can not touch it. I think it's quite similar in terms of time gained by going on a curb or getting as close to a curb as possible. They're pretty similar for lap time, I believe. Used all this track limits, use all this exit curb here, and when I say exit curb I mean this red and yellow curb, because if your right tyre goes over it, that's when you get a half-second penalty, and you may even get slightly dirty tyres as well, depending on how wide you go. This corner I'm literally braking as I get to the 100-yard marker here, and as soon as I'm braking I'm going to be turning as well. I'm going to try and aim to do it in like a V shape, so I'm going to try and get as close to the first apex as possible without touching it, go a touch deep in, and as soon as I've slowed the car down and got it rotated, you'll see me pick up the throttle again. I'm exiting in, I believe, 4th gear on this particular lap. I'm not 100% sure if 3rd or 4th is better, but I felt more consistent in 4th, so that's the gear I went in. Minimum apex speed in this corner is around 69 to 70 miles per hour in the BR said. Be careful of oversteering this car, especially as well in that corner, very easily. Here, I'm turning as I get to the 100 marker, and all I need to do in the BR said is lift. In some cars, you may have to tap the brakes, especially cars like the F-Type, I would imagine, and the Evo. You'd probably have to tap the brakes or lift off early, because those cars have good acceleration with not great handling. So those cars will probably have to tap the brakes or lift quite a bit to make sure they make the next corner. But what you want to do is, in the BR said, I lifted as I got to this entry curb here on the left, very momentarily, because I am roughly taking this corner at about 118 miles per hour, I believe, and you want your left tyre to basically be on this curb as much as possible to help drag your car around the corner. I would recommend not using all this outside curb here, because you need to make sure you get to the left before the next braking point, because if you're not all the way over to the left, you're going to have to brake a bit to the left, and then you're going to have to trail brake to get it rotated and turning to the right. So in my opinion, it's not worth going all the way out and then having to turn aggressively to try and make it to the left hand side of the track before the next braking zone. So like that, I'm braking, I'd say half car length after the tyred barrier here. So about here, any second now, there you go, I'm braking. Yeah, half a car length after this tyred barrier. That's when I'm braking. I'm going to be downshift. Actually, I don't remember if I downshifted to 3rd on this particular lap, but sometimes I'd say if I felt like I was going deep, I would then downshift to 3rd. Otherwise, I'll be staying in 4th. And in this car, I'm going to be exiting in 5th, looking for about 101 miles per hour. Yeah, 101 mile an hour here. So yeah, I was going a bit deep. That's why I downshifted to 3rd. Try and get your right tyre to be on this curb as much as possible without touching the grass, because it is a bit cambered this corner, so you need an early apex here to help drag your car around throughout the corner without understeering too wide, and pick up the throttle as early as you can as well. And that's a lap guide on this track, and this lap was a 1:44.015. For me, I think there's a tenth and a half in it personally, especially in sector 3. I have struggled a bit with sector 3 in terms of braking references, but I think it's a decent lap. But I'm going to very, very quickly re-go over it, trying to not pause it and go over each braking references and the rough apex speed. So first corner, I'm braking pretty much on the 200-yard marker, turning just before the Gran Turismo 7 sign on the end. Get on the inside curb with your right tyres without touching a high part of the curb, and you'll know be looking for the apex speed about 85 miles an hour in the BR said. Hug these curbs, so that you can steer less and maybe carry a touch more momentum, may save you 100 or 2, which could be a position or 2 difference from the actual quality session. So we're doing, in my opinion, this corner I'm braking on 200 marker, using getting as close to the bar as possible here, 120 mile an hour, using the curves, cut this a bit, be careful on steering as you release, get out of that corner here, 106, 107 mile an hour, I broke at the last sign, light steer, here, braking on 200 marker, turn early to use the whole camber, about 84, 85 mile an hour in this car, use all the exit curb, here I'm braking a car for this 100 marker, taking a bit of a right turning so that I can pick up the throttle early and carry good speed and momentum at this corner. I was looking for about 74 mile an hour minimum apex speed on that corner. This corner coming up, I'm braking about 160 yards, downshifting to third, trying to touch the inside curb just, taking it about 74 mile an hour, use all the exit curb here, brake on the 100 yard marker, take it like a V shape, minimum apex speed about 69 mile an hour, take the throttle as early as you can, it's a wide exit, so you can get away from the early throttle, here turn at the 100 yarder, take the entry of the left curb, take the throttle pretty much straight after, take a column, half column after the tyre barrier on the left, get touch, use the inside curve to help drag your car around, take the corner around 101 mile an hour in 5th gear in the BR said, and that is a good lap around this track. So with that, hopefully that helps, and hopefully you take a thing or 2 away from this lap. Again, remember I'm in the BR said, so you may not be able to use the same braking references, especially for some corners, compared to the car you're using, especially if you're in cars like Evo, F-Type, R8, Huracan, etc. with, you know, very different car characteristics in terms of acceleration and handling, etc. and brakes. But anyway, hopefully that helps. But now I'm going to go into my race stint. Oh, and one more thing. If you remember when I was talking through the best cars here, you may have seen that I've got a replay uploaded because I got into the top 10. So if you want to look at this replay, go to the ranking board and scroll down to my name. You will be able to play the replay through the GTWS manual leaderboard. But with that, let's get to the race stint. Cheers, guys. Hi guys, hello everyone. So now I'm going to show you the race stint and the last race stint of this season for this manufacturer's guide. So I'm going to once again very quickly go over some of the things that you may need to know. So first of all, and I've not really talked about it yet, but what you may see in the title is I've mentioned the words extreme tyre saver or tyre saving, and I mean it. For some of these corners I'm putting very minimum steering input because surprisingly, even though it's ×5 tyre and it's only mediums and hards and it's only a 17 lap race, the tyres are really going to struggle to make it because with the nature of this circuit you've got a lot of long and fast corners, which is basically the tyre's worst nightmare because it's asking the tyre to basically turn for longer than it usually would, and it's also, since it's going at a high speed, it's you're asking the tyre to do a lot more and giving you a lot more performance to be able to carry those high speeds through the corners in the first place, if you're trying to understand what I'm trying to say. If you understand what I'm trying to say, that should be so, sorry. But anyway, like I said, it's ×5 tyre. Doesn't sound like a lot on hards and mediums, but trust me, it is a lot. As you will see throughout my stint, you'll see even in the hard stint that the fronts will wear quite a bit, and I was tyre saving. I will say that I wasn't tyre saving as much on the hard stint compared to the mediums, just because you know, I know the hards will make it quite comfortably. It's just that you still need to save a bit on the hard stint, because if you were to just go guns out blazing on the hard tyres stint, you'll overheat the front tyres and they're just going to massively wear during the stint. Like, you're just going to be a sitting duck at the end of the stint, and you're just going to be really slow. Especially in lower lobbies, if you are able to get good at tyre saving, that's going to put you 2 steps ahead of everyone, because not only are you going to have much better pace at the end of stints, you're also going to be able to pit earlier from the softer tyres to undercut people and getting, well, not undercut just one person, but undercutting several people, because you're probably going to be able to pit 2 laps earlier just because you know how to tyre save and they don't. I will say, and what you'll be seeing is I'm going to be doing 9 laps on the hards and 8 laps on the mediums. Now, I won't spoil it, I'll wait till the mediums thing to talk more about the tyre and what I'm doing. But what I'm just trying to point out is you've got to be extremely careful with your steering inputs on these faster corners especially. But I'll go more on, I'll talk more on that in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to quickly talk about the qualifying. So, if you remember on the intro video, the qualifying time for this is 5 minutes. Now, if you may have remembered my time trial lap I showed a few minutes ago, the best lap I did was 44.0. So if you quickly did the maths, it's 5 divided by 1 minute 44. Well, actually no, let's not even do that, let's make it easier for ourselves. So 5 divided by 140 is 3. However, since there's more than 140, you're going to be going over the 5 minute counter during your second flying lap. So you've only got 2 flying laps, and you won't have time to do 1 flying lap, exit and go back out. So you think about it, an out lap's going to take at least probably 1 minute 50, depending on when you get out onto the track. Let's say 150 on average, because again, you don't want to fully push on your out lap because there is a bit of tyre input. You do want to push, make sure you've got enough tyre, but in my opinion, what I'm going to be doing on my out lap is I'm going to be pushing as if I'm tyre saving in the race, because that should be enough to get the tyre temps a little bit up while having still little tyre wear to start the lap, just so that I have good tyres to finish the lap. But like I said, our lap's going to take about 1 minute 50, and then after your first flying lap, let's say it's a 141, that's already going to be 3 minutes 31 into the session. You're not going to have time to exit and put a fresh set of tyres on and finish the out lap to start the end of your lap, because you would have already wasted 3 minutes 30 seconds just to complete your first lap, which leaves you only 1 minute 30 seconds to get you out the pit lane and then do a whole out lap to start the lap. You're just not going to have the time. So in my opinion, it is definitely worth tyre saving on the out lap, because your first lap may not be good enough. You may get a penalty, or you may just make a few mistakes. Just tyre safe on the out lap, because you may need the second lap tyres to set you a banker lap, or set yourself a half decent lap, especially if you're in cars like the Nissan GTR, the Lexus RCF, Jaguar F-Type, Mitsubishi Evo, those sort of cars that have a lot of weight in the front of the car, because those cars are going to suffer with tyre temps and the tyre wear on the second flying lap. So that's why, in my opinion, you want to tyre save on the out lap, especially in cars with heavy tyre wear. But that's all I really need to talk about throughout about qualifying. I would recommend before the actual session is you can maybe do one practice qualifying run in the lobby. I'll talk more about lobby settings in a second. Just so that you can see the sort of tyre wear you get after 2 flying laps. But before the slot, I would recommend just practicing in the actual GTWS time trial sessions. The reason I say that is because you want to get used to the wind before the actual session, because if you may have noticed for time trial, the wind will always be the same. I believe it was 2.4 meters per second, facing about 1 o'clock for wind. So you have a tailwind into turn 1, and you have a headwind into the fast chicanes, and a headwind into the hairpin at the end of S2, and a tailwind into the first corner of S3. So you may have to differ your braking points a bit from lobby to the actual time trial sessions in the qualifying. That's why, in my opinion, it's extremely important that you practice before you enter the slot, just doing some time trial laps in the time trial sessions, just so that you can get yourself used to the winter conditions for actual session. But I would also recommend doing at least a quali 1 or 2 with tyre wear on in the lobby, just so that you know roughly what the tyre drop off is like during the quali session, just in case you need to set your batteries up in the second lap, in case you make mistakes in the first lap, or you got yourself a penalty, etc. Talking of penalties, very quickly, while on the qualifying section, I will mention if you get a track limit penalty from the first right-hander onwards in sector 2, so the long right-hander after the chicanes, if you get a track limit penalty from going to right there, or any other place on track during your first flying lap, that will mean that your first lap will not count because you won't be taking a penalty, and you would have gained time, potentially exceeding track limits or cutting corners. Well, basically exceeding track limits. That will mean that you will have to take the penalty during your second lap, and with the penalty sitting on this track, it is right at the beginning of the straight, where basically where sector 2 ends, and there's a bit uphill on top of that, so you're going to lose a lot of time taking a penalty. At half a second you lose a second, so it is extremely vital that you do not pick up a penalty during the qualifying session, especially on your first or second flying lap. If you get it on your out lap, I would then recommend, if you get a penalty on your out lap, you will have time to exit and go back on track, but you'll probably only mean that you only get enough time to set one flying lap. But it is better doing that than carrying on taking the penalty during your first lap and then having slightly worn tyres on your second lap. That's what I will mention. But that is about all you need to know for qualifying sessions and my input on it. So now I'm going to talk about the lobby settings and what I am planning to do for the race, and what I would recommend to do in your sort of cars that you will be driving. So, first of all, I'm going to very quickly talk about the lobby conditions. So, if you may have noticed on the ranking board, when I was going through some of the top cars in the leaderboard, or ranking board, however you want to describe it or say it, there is a car that shows you the on-track temperatures in the cockpit settings, and the only car that does that is a Lexus RCF. Thankfully for us, Antonio, or VSK Vitality, or whatever the name is, I don't exactly remember his username, but he's the French driver in the Lexus, the fastest Lexus driver I should mention. He has a replay available on his time trial lap, at least at the time of recording, but in case he does improve and he doesn't share the replay, there is a Japanese driver just behind him that's also shared a replay. I think it's QTD Kawakana from memory. I'm pretty sure it's Kawakana, the Japanese driver, who's also shared a replay. But either way, they shared a replay, and the on-track temperatures it was showing for them was 18.5 degrees Celsius. So I tried to make the lobby get in as close to 18.5 degrees Celsius as possible. And what I found best was I put it on SO1 conditions, put it on equal conditions, and put it on early morning, because early morning gave me 18.8 degrees Celsius, which is very close to the on-track conditions. So basically what you'll be practicing doing race stints or qualifying runs in a lobby with early morning, it's going to be pretty identical to what you'll be doing in the actual session. So in my opinion, put it on early morning, because that is going to be as close to a simulated run you can get to the lobby you'll be doing in the GTWS races. But now let's talk about the race run itself. So as you can see, I am halfway through lap 7 now. I am on the hard tyre stint, and I would say I've got about 40% tyre wear on the front left. That's with me tyre saving a bit, actually not a bit, quite a bit, because like I said, if you were to push without tyre saving, I would say I would have had at least 60% tyre wear on my front left by now, just because I would have overheated my front left tyres. So not only will I get more tyre wear, since I'm overheating the tyre will just give me less performance full stop. So right now you're seeing me doing 46 seconds. If I was to push at the beginning of the stint, you may see me be able to do 46 ones, 46 series maybe even on the first lap or two. So lap 2, lap 3 I will mention. But from lap 4 onwards, if I was to carry on pushing, my tyres would overheat and I'd get a lot more tyre wear. So you'd see the second half of the stint I would probably be doing low 47s to mid 42 seconds. Spoiler alert, I did 46s throughout the hard stint. So in my opinion, especially since the BRZ is a good car on tyres, especially since it's a high downforce track where the BRZ doesn't need as much steering compared to every other car, it is especially in cars with heavy front tyre like the Lexus GTR, F-Type, Mitsubishi, the cars I've already mentioned. It is extremely important you put very little steering input into especially long right-handers and fast right-handers as well. And on the medium stint, you'll need to tyre save even more because you're on a softer tyre. Since you've got more grip on the softer tyres, at least in this game, I'm not 100% sure if it's realistic or not. To be honest, I'm not 100%. I don't 100% understand about the science law or the engineering law about if a softer tyre should increase the temperature quicker. I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. I can't really answer that for you. But what I found in this game is the softer the tyre compound, the quicker the tyre temp rises, just because it's got more grip and it's taking more speed in the corners. So on the medium stint, you're going to need to tyre save even more. Sorry guys, so I'm going to quickly go over the corners I am tyre saving right now. So for turn 1 I am tyre saving, especially on the medium stint, you're going to need to put quite a lot less steering in. I'll say on a hard tyre stint, I was putting about 60% turning inputs in. Obviously, depending on your level, you may find it extremely difficult to hold it at 60% steering the whole time, especially on a controller. I can totally understand if you will struggle doing that. How I tyre save using the controller, I'll give a very quick hint. I will make a video about how to tyre save that in the future, but I want to focus on the manufacturer and the upcoming nation's calendar and track guides before I get into that. But a little sneak peek, how I tyre save is, and how I drive in general I should mention, is while driving I steer with my L3 sticks. So I hold that up the whole time, whether I'm going in a straight line or I'm turning, I'm holding it up, just so that I can be as precise as I can be and I can dictate where I want to position my car. And if I want to hold the steering at a certain angle, I will just move my left analog stick, I'll be holding it up and I'll use the casing of the controller to hold it up in place, so that I can basically dictate how much I want to turn left and right, and I'll just be holding it up, because if you're holding it up, it takes more force to move it to the left and right hand side, because obviously you're moving it up at the same time and you're using the casing to basically stop the steering from going more left and more right, since you're holding it up. So that's how I'm tyre saving, and that's how I'd recommend to drive in general if you're using the L3 sticks to steer. Obviously, if you're not used to that, maybe don't try it in this one, because it does take time to get used to, especially if you're used to, you know, just holding it left and right for years, especially. But since I have always driven it up with the sticks up, it is very natural for me. But I know for some that have been trying to learn holding it up, they keep going back and forth on it because they're just not consistent with it yet, which is fair enough. I would personally practice it in a lobby. Maybe not for this race, but just in the lobby in general, just so that you can get used to how to steer with holding the sticks up, just so that you can be more precise in general and tyre save a lot better in general. And even if you can't tyre save better with it, in my opinion, you can just be a lot more precise in general, so you'll be making a lot less mistakes just because you're able to control the car better, especially out of slow speed corners, where you need to minimise the steering. so that you don't get too much oversteer out of course. Especially in the BR set, you need light steering, because if you were to put full steering lock out of some slower to medium speed corners, the car will just spin. So it is extremely vital if you want to get very good pace to learn the holding up the stick technique if you can. Now let's actually talk about where Tyson is set. I'm going to talk first of all about how much steering angle roughly I'm taking on the hard tyre. So turn 1, about 60% steering input, and then try and curb hook if you can throughout the first sector in the flat out corners, because it can hook your tyres. If you can hook the tyres onto the inside curb, it can help drag your car around the corners and may put like a % or 2 less steering input in. Now that might not sound a lot, but that could be the difference between overheating the tyre and not overheating the tyre. So it is worth doing if you can help it. So like right here, get as close to the graph as possible, tyre hook onto the curb. That way you don't have to put as much steering input as in. And plus you're minimising the distance that way as well. And plus you might be kind of touch more speed. Anyway, this chicane coming up, I'm putting about, and to be honest, in the right part, I'm taking it normally just because I don't want to make a mistake in that corner. The left parts, I'm not really tyre saving because it's a left-hander. Since it's a front left that takes the beating on this track, you don't really need to save tyres if going around the left corners. I will know, the left-hander we're on now, I do try to open the steering a bit earlier there just to make sure I don't overheat the front right tyre there. Especially in other cars, you may want to do that. So cars like the M6, GTR, Lexus, F-Type, the cars I've already mentioned, FRs basically. If you were to just fully push on every left corner, you may overheat the front right tyre a bit. So if you can, on the left-hander and S2, try and open up the steering a bit, just so that you don't overheat that tyre potentially. And that goes to the same on some corner exits. So like the left-hander we just went through, maybe try opening up a touch earlier. The left-hander I'm on now, maybe take it around an hour or two slower, just so that you've got less steering in to make sure you don't overheat the front right tyre. But since I'm in the BR set, I don't really have to worry about that. That car doesn't really overheat. It takes a lot to overheat the front tyres in the BR set, just because it's got so much downforce. Like you don't have to put as much steering as you go through the front. But anyway, carrying on, so into the S2, through the chicanes. I'm not really tyre saving the chicanes because I don't want to crash the penalty there. I'd rather just do it normally and not even think about it. Right-hander coming up on the hard and putting about 40% steering input, I would say, 30 to 40%. Try hook onto the inside curb as well because it can compromise the car and maybe slightly hammer as well. That way you can open up the steering earlier and using the exit curb. That way, again, you put less steering angle in, so you don't put so much strain and stress into your front tyre. That way, it will not overheat and cause more tyre. That way, you will be a lot faster at the end of the sticks. We've already talked about this left-hander I'm on now, so let's go into this right-hander. On the hard, I'd say I'm about 50% braking input, not braking input, turning input. And again, as you put the power down, open up the steering. One, because you'll get less oversteer doing that, and two, again, you put less strain into that front left tyre. This right-hander here, again, about 50% steering input. I'd say maybe 40%. I'd say 50% on the hard tyres actually. Yeah, about 50%. And again, as soon as you put the throttle down, try to open up steering because it's a very wide exit, so you can get away with that. We've already talked about the next two left-handers. So the last corner, I'd say I'm putting about 40% steering input in on the hard tyre. Now on the medium tyres, first corner I'm putting about 40% steering input in, and again, with the throttle, when you put the throttle down, be prepared to open up the steering a bit because the car can oversteer, especially if you take too much of the inside curve, I find. And if you go too wide on the exit, again, don't put more steering angle in because you're going off the track and you get dirty tyres. It's just going to cause the car to oversteer more. So in my opinion, it's just worth taking the penalty or just lifting a bit to make sure you don't go wide in the first place. Against chicanes, I'm not really worried about tyres. Just maybe try tyre safe touch on the first right part, but other than that, don't worry about tyre safety. It's better just to not get a penalty in the crash there. Just stay consistent. This right-hander, honestly, I'm putting it literally, and I'm not even joking, about 20% steering input into that. if I was to put any more in, I would overheat the front left tyre, and I would not be able to do 8 laps of you have to. That is by far the biggest tyre killer on the track. So if there is one corner you want to focus on tyre saving on, it is that corner, because one, it's a very long corner, so the front left tyre will be having to put a lot of steering to go round the corner in the first place. Not only that, you're also going pretty fast, so you're basically, it's very easy to scuff the front left tyre. So for that reason, you want to put as little steering input into that corner as possible. Left-hander, on the mediums, I try to put 80% steering angle in initially, and then try opening up the steering a bit more, especially in FR cars. I forgot to mention the Supras, but basically every FR car, you want to try open up the steering. Even MR cars, you want to do it as well, because you don't want to overheat the tyres, because you're just going to lose so much performance at the end if you were to overheat the tyres. So even the Citroen, which is really good tyres, I'll still tyre save it, just to make sure you don't overheat those tyres. I know you still have the stickers. Right-hander, end of S2, use the camber, and honestly I'm putting about 40% steering angle in on the mediums, and again I'm opening up the steering to about 10-20% steering when exiting the corner, just to again put less stress into the tyre. Next right-hander coming up, the right-hander coming up after it, I should say, first corner of S3, again 30-40% steering input, and again opening up to about 10-20% as I'm putting the throttle down. This is a very wide exit, you can get away with doing that without going too wide and getting a penalty. Left-handers, just again, the first left-hander after the last left-hander, sorry, of sector 3, just again try open up the steering early, since it's a wide exit, so you can get away with easing up the steering input. The left-hander after that, especially in heavy front tyre wear cars, try put 50% steering inputs in, I would say, in an FR car in that corner. You may have to sacrifice a couple more an hour, but it is worth it, trust me, because you're just going to be fast at the end of the stints. Which leads to the last corner, which you're steering now. I am putting about 30% steering inputs in on the medium tyre here, because it's a fast right-hander. You want to put very little steering input in. So that way you don't overheat the front left tyre and lose performance. As you can see, I've just talked about the tyre saving abilities, whereabouts in the tyre saving and tyre saving in this course. As you can see, the fastest lap I've done on the mediums is obviously on the first lap of the medium stints. It's also on the out of the freshest. You can get P4 in lap 2 and lap 3 on the medium stints if you're driving the way I am. I mean, as you can see, lap 13 was also a 0.5, so you can get as good of a lap on lap 13 as lap 11 in my opinion, if you were to tyre save properly, since you're not overheating the tyre, and since you're not overheating the tyre and you're not putting much tyre, not much steering into the right-handers, especially the fast and long right-handers like here, you're just able to not get much tyre wear initially, since you're saving those tyres really well and not overheating the tyres. Even tyre saving you may even slightly overheat, just because of the nature of this track. So you need to be extremely careful with how much steering you're putting into these corners. And honestly, and I mean it, even if you don't practice much in general, for this round I would massively recommend to do at least one practice run, because honestly, if the difference between tyre saving and not tyre saving on the tyres is incredibly massive. Spoiler alert, by the end of the medium stint, I believe I have about 20 to 30% tyres in the front left. I think it's 20% tyres I had left. And I did 8 laps on the medium, so 8 times 5, I did realistically 40 laps in real life on the medium sets. If I was just to push my tyres throughout the stint, I would be lucky to get 6 laps out of my medium stint. I'd be very lucky to even get 6 laps without my tyre completely dying. That is why I am stressing to you to do a practice run, get used to trying to put less steering into those right-handers especially the long fast right-handers, on the corners I mentioned about putting less steering angle in. Practice doing it. You may make a few mistakes doing it initially, but stick with it, stick through with it, carry on with the run. Just try get used to what you're doing, and try get used to putting less steering in, because especially if you're like BDR, low A plus, if you are able to tyre save, you're going to be so much quicker than the guys ahead of you. Not only that, you're going to be much less likely to make a mistake, since you'll be able to do the rough apex speeds you have been doing throughout the stint, since you're tyre saving, and you'll still have the tyre to perform the corner at relatively similar speed, maybe slightly slower, but not much in it, compared to a person pushing their tyre. Maybe initially they may be able to hit the corner at around 100 mile an hour, but if they were to tyre push and they're getting towards the end of their stint and they have 10% tyres left, they may have to take even 8 mile an hour less in that corner, and they're more likely going to make mistakes, and more likely going to understeer right, and they're more likely going to oversteer out of the corner exit, since they're just not going to have the tyre to stick onto the track and not oversteer on anything. With that said, we are going on to the last lap of my stint now. As you can see, my tyres, they're still in pretty good shape. I could have done a slightly better job with tyre saving, to be honest. I'm going to do a couple more practice runs, I think, before the Saturday's race, just to get the right information, and just so that I know exactly what I need to do in the race for the Saturday. That way I could have the best race pace possible, which could be the difference between winning a race and getting P3, for example, just because I'm able to tyre save better than P3, hopefully. With that said, I am going to start to sign off the video now, since there's only a minute or so of the video left and of this race run left. So first of all, I would say a huge thank you to everyone that's been watching my live streams doing these races. I genuinely really enjoyed doing them. In case you don't know, I am looking to try and qualify for the CS World Series. I am currently in a qualifying position, and since this is a very good super track, unless there's point solutions that happen, we don't know fully until it happens. I'm not worried because I've not made any dirty moves or anything, it's more about everyone else. But anyway, huge thanks for the recent support in the live streams and that. I will be streaming this on Saturday, and I wish you all a good luck if you are to do this race. Do a lobby 1 or 2 just to get your head in the game with how to tyre save and that in this race. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did and found it helpful, I'd appreciate a like and a sub. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the Saturday's race. Cheers guys, good luck and goodbye.